Episode 3. Who's the neighbor? From the other side of the door stood Gladys. She stood there listening to the sounds of Marlowe ranting and Tina begging for his forgiveness with her ear pressed to the door. Gladys shut her left eye and tried to peek through the peek hole with her opened right eye, but she couldn't see anything, so she resumed listening. You good, son? You straight? Marlowe said while breathing heavily, walking up the hall towards the kitchen. Yes, Nasir answered without looking at Marlowe. Marlowe walked over to the refrigerator and grabbed a bottle of water, then walked over to Nasir. You sure we good, son? Marlowe said, standing above his son, nude, flaccid dick shiny and wet from Tina's pussy. Nasir nodded his head yes, then Marlowe continued, Don't tell your mama she was here, okay? It's our secret as men and men don't tell on each other, he said and stared at Nasir. Let that old lady in if she knocks. Matter of fact, go over to her house when you finish your food. Tell her your mama sent you. Me and Ms. Tina got shit to discuss. I'll tell your mama I dropped you off, Marlowe said and walked off down the hall to finish fucking Tina. Gladys screwed her face up, but saw this as the perfect opportunity to easily take Nasir. She lightly knocked and then turned the doorknob slowly, then pushed the door open slowly. She stared at Nasir, who now sat on the couch alone with an almost empty bowl of cereal. Gladys smiled and said, Why hey there, Nasir? Where's your mama and daddy? Gladys asked, knowing that she just heard Marlowe and she also saw Stacy leave for one of her 3 jobs at 3 a.m. It was now 7:20 p.m., which meant Stacy would be home close to 11 p.m. Gladys knew she would need to act fast if she were going to get Nasir today, so she pulled a sucker from her back pocket and said, You want some candy, precious boy? Nasir nodded his head slow, wiped his nose with the backside of his right hand, and said, Yes, Ms. Gladys. Gladys turned her head swiftly towards the bedroom, where Tina was moaning loudly. She walked across the floor towards Nasir, who was still waiting for the sucker Gladys had offered him. Gladys sat down next to the boy and rubbed his head. Have you eaten dinner today, Nasir? She asked. Just some cereal and a peanut butter sandwich, he said, still not breaking his gaze with the TV. Gladys sighed and said, It's a shame. You're a beautiful Abiku, born to die as a sacrifice to teach your mother to walk in her true path. She wiped snot from his nose with a black cloth from her pocket, spit on it, and carefully placed it in a small black sack that she placed between her breasts. Punished you to be born to such idiot parents. He will do as a sacrifice to Oren, she said to herself as a dark, shapeless spirit that appeared next to Nasir as she unwrapped the sucker from the paper. Gladys knew that it was time to make her move. You want to come with Aunt Gladys? I've got some dinner cooking and I've more candy and some toys for good little boys. Do you want some? She said, flashing a fake smile to the boy, causing him to let down his guard. My mama said to tell her before I leave the house, Nasir said as he bit the hard outer sugary coating on the sucker. And she's right. You are so smart. But I'm sure your dad already told her though. If your mom wasn't expecting me to come and get you, would I have been able to just walk into your house? Gladys said and carefully mentioned both parents to ease Nasir's concerns. No, Nasir said, sounding unsure. I tell you what, let's go to my house and eat dinner, then let's have ice cream and cake. Do you like cake? Does mommy let you eat cake? Gladys said, forcing herself to sound chipper, but internally fuming that this little boy was halfway rejecting her. This little piggy went to the market, she said and grabbed Nasir's hand. He stared at her funny, then said, You're supposed to be using my feet. Mama uses my feet when we play this piggy. Gladys scoffed, then looked up the hall towards the bedroom, where Tina's moaning was now replaced by Marlowe's. She smiled again, then looked at Nasir, who had now leaned back and put his feet up, so they could play the game properly. Here, use my feets, he said eagerly. Okay. This little piggy went to the market. Now you, she said to Nasir. This piggy stays home. Why does this piggy stay home? Gladys asked. This piggy stay home because him was bad at school. My mama said bad kids got to stay home sometimes, because they always get in trouble. His high-pitched voice cracked as he talked about his mother to Gladys. Is that so? Yes, Nasir said and put his sucker back in his mouth. Gladys rubbed his head and said, Are you a good boy, Nasir? This time she smiled and frowned maniacally in unison. Yes, I got all pluses on my port card, Nasir said proudly. You want to know what Auntie Gladys does for good boys? Auntie Gladys gives them a big piece of chocolate cake and a big scoop of vanilla ice cream. Let's go to Auntie Gladys's house. We can watch cartoons and eat cake until your mommy gets home. You don't need to be around your father's whores," she said and stared towards the bedroom, where the moaning had stopped for more than 5 minutes, but nobody emerged to check on the child. "Do you know what a whore is, Nasir?" she asked sternly. He shook his head no. Gladys lifted him up onto her lap, then stood up while holding him. "A whore is your father, sweet boy. A whore is the woman your father is." She paused when she heard the bedroom door open, and footsteps headed their way. Tina appeared naked in the living room and said, "Gladys, why are you in my house?"